So Judy, why did you personally decide to get involved with Canadian Jewish Congress and the advocacy world?
I'm thinking back, I think throughout my life I've always had this urge to really be part of something that's greater than just you. And I think I once heard, when I was in law school, I once heard somebody who was at the time Minister of Justice say, and we all know this saying very well, I think it's Rabbi Hillel, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm not for others, what am I? And if not now, when? And it might sound kind of corny, but like that really, really, I think to me defines the passion you have to be part of advocacy and what it really means to make a difference. And CJC is about, it's about combating anti-Semitism, it's about human rights, it's about many very important issues, but it's also about building relationships with people and reaching out. And I've had the privilege to have many experiences, such as missions to Israel, Congress, we've gone to the National Assembly in Quebec, we've gone to the Federal Parliament in Canada, we've had face-to-face meetings, a wealth of experiences that really, to me, are about relationship building. And at the end of the day, I think what I've learned and the value that I see in advocacy is that you can not necessarily change someone's perspective, but you can allow them, by having a conversation and a dialogue, to see something to see what you're seeing through their eyes and vice versa. In other words, to see the other's perspective. And that's really important. I think that's what it's all about. For example, our elected officials. Some might claim at times elected officials are maybe ignorant on certain issues of the community. But, I disagree. I think that there may be a certain level of ignorance, but at the same time, there's a lot of openness. And human nature is such that if you reach out to someone, if you have a conversation with someone, and you want to learn from the other, then there will be that natural openness and relationship that you can build. And that's what really advocacy is all about. For me, that's why I find it so important.
So you were recently involved in Montreal in a study on how to tackle youth engagement in Montreal. What were some of the issues that you guys were discussing? It's
actually really interesting, and it's a really important issue to look at because we're looking here at the 25 to 35 year age gap. So that's the post-university sort of pre or young family age group. And that group is unfortunately a shrinking part of the population. And the issue of how best to engage them and how to have a sustainable community is really, really important. What was interesting about what we looked at is across North America there are certain trends. And the trends are such that, for example, if you ask youth what they want to be involved with, civic engagement, being involved politically or being involved with housing or poverty or whatever social issue is of the day, is maybe lower on their list of priorities. But that's a problem more across the board, all youth, not just Jewish youth. Interestingly, though, Jewish youth are more involved if you compare them to other groups. So are, for example, in the States, African Americans are actually more involved relative to other groups. So that's really interesting. The other thing that was interesting is that they don't want to be involved as much with fundraising. So really the social aspect of an activity is important. And also how people define, how young adults define their Jewish identity. So it's not so much about religion anymore. It may be for certain, but it's also about other aspects of Jewishness, if you want, and the cultural identity that people have. So people want to connect to people, not necessarily to the organization. So we're moving away from that institutional sort of community engagement and more about just people connecting to people. And I think that's where the community is headed. If you really want to engage young adults the right way, you have to make sure that people you're focusing your activities on relationship building.
Our final question en français. Que font les jeunes de la communauté juive au Québec?
Au Québec, nous avons des organismes, par exemple, nous avons au Congrès juif québécois un organisme qui s'appelle le Comité des jeunes, Jeune Leadership. Et ça a été fondé par un groupe de jeunes adultes, entre 25 et 35, et nous faisons beaucoup d'activités de rapprochement. Et c'est vraiment super intéressant parce qu'on a des jeunes qui sont là, qui font partie de la société québécoise et en même temps qui veulent, par exemple, nous avons eu un événement avec des musulmanes et des juifs où nous avons eu un dialogue sur les stéréotypes sur la discrimination pour pouvoir vraiment apprendre l'un de l'autre. Et en même temps, on a d'autres activités comme célébration de la fête nationale. Et la fête nationale, c'est une activité où, oui, on a tous des différences culturelles, mais on peut se joindre en même temps et célébrer quelque chose que nous avons en commun. Donc, c'est l'idée des valeurs communes dans la société et que les jeunes du futur, les générations du futur peuvent se réunir sur ce même front.